In the heart of southern Africa, where the rolling hills met the blood-red earth, a boy was born into exile. A child who would become one of the greatest military minds the continent had ever known. He rose from shame to power, from obscurity to legend. This is the story of Shaka Zulu, the warrior king who changed the face of Africa. Shaka was born around 1787, the illegitimate son of Sinzanga Kona, a Zulu chief, and Nandi, a woman of lower rank. His birth was considered a disgrace. Shunned and humiliated, Shaka and his mother were cast out, wandering from village to village. In this hardship, something hardened within the boy. He learned to survive, to fight, to lead. As a young man, Shaka joined the powerful Mthethwa kingdom under Chief Dingiswayo, where his talent as a warrior and strategist began to shine. When Shaka's father died, the Zulu chieftainship passed to a weaker half-brother. Backed by Dingiswayo and his loyal warriors, Shaka returned and seized control. But Shaka did not just want to rule the Zulu, he wanted to forge a nation. Shaka transformed tribal warfare. He abandoned the throwing spear for the ikwa, a short stabbing spear used in brutal close-quarters combat. He replaced loose battle lines with the bullhorn formation, a central force to engage the enemy, flanked by horns to encircle them, and a reserve to finish them off. Loyalty was non-negotiable. Shaka trained his warriors rigorously, forcing them to run barefoot for miles to toughen their feet. Discipline was absolute. Under his command, the Zulu became an elite fighting force, an unstoppable tide. From a minor clan, Shaka carved out an empire. Using diplomacy, intimidation, and warfare, he united or conquered dozens of tribes. By the early 1820s, the Zulu nation had risen from the ashes of scattered clans to become a centralized, powerful kingdom. But his campaigns sparked massive upheaval. Whole populations were displaced, warriors fled or formed their own rival kingdoms. This chaos became known as the Mafeking, the Crushing. Shaka was not just a warrior, he was a visionary. He allowed his people to marry across clans. He promoted merit over birthright. He built a culture of pride and identity among the Zulu. But power took its toll. After the death of his beloved mother, Nandi, Shaka descended into grief and paranoia. He ordered mass executions, banned farming, and outlawed pregnancy for a year. His people began to fear him more than they revered him. In 1828, Shaka's half-brothers, Dingan and Malanjana, struck. As Shaka walked through his kraal, unarmed and unguarded, they stabbed him to death. The man who had built an empire with blood and fire fell betrayed by his own blood. His body was buried in an unmarked grave, but his legacy would never be buried. Shaka Zulu lived only 41 years, but in that time he reshaped southern Africa. He turned a fragmented people into a nation. He pioneered tactics still studied in military academies today. To some, he was a tyrant. To others, a unifier. To all, he was a force of nature. His empire would not last forever, but the name Shaka Zulu lives on, as king, as warrior, as legend. If stories like this spark your curiosity, if you believe history should be felt, not just remembered, then subscribe and join us as we uncover the giants of our past. This was the story of Shaka Zulu, the warrior who became an empire.